Hello there and welcome to M's Kitchen. So we're going to be doing a takeaway special, and the first of our takeaway specials is Kentucky. So Kentucky was one of those things that was a real treat in my family. It's not something, takeaways wasn't something that we ate on a regular basis, and kind of once a month we would my dad would get us a barrel box and we'd go and get a big KFC thing. So that's how I remember KFC. I eat it very, very rarely now. However, it is really, really popular all around the world. And so therefore, because most of the takeaways and stuff is still closed, I thought it would be a good idea for us to try and make our own. So I'm not saying this is the original kernel recipe, so please just understand that as a fact, but this is a version of that which is quite close to the actual original. So first of all, a sort of barrel box, you can have breasts, you can have thighs, you can have drumsticks, you can have a combination. I've got some thighs, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the camera a little bit. So I do apologize that the sun is at the moment is coming in directly into the window and is blinding me just a little bit. So you need just a few ingredients. This is actually really, really simple. So I've got 1 cup of milk, to which I'm in a second going to add 2 eggs. I always use free-range eggs. Then in a separate bowl I have got 2 cups of just plain flour or all-purpose flour, and to that I need to add 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 4 teaspoons of garlic salt, and half a teaspoon of poultry or chicken seasoning. So first things first, I'm going to do the dry ingredients first. So remember, this is 2 cups of plain flour, to which I'm adding 2 teaspoons of black pepper. I've got 2 teaspoons of paprika that goes in there. I've got 4 teaspoons of garlic salt, and I've also got half a teaspoon of chicken seasoning. So very, very simple. It's not much science in that, is there? That's not a hard thing to do, and it's mixed. But to make sure that it's mixed all the way through, just use any kind of spoon, fork, utensil, or anything else. Now, the original recipe says to put this into a bag. However, you don't need to put this into a bag, because we're not going to really be shaking it around that much. But you can put it in a bag if you want to, seal it and shake it around, but I'm just going to put the flour in there. That's much simpler. So 1 cup of milk, to which I'm adding 2 eggs, very, very simply, and I always use a balloon whisk for this. So break the yolk, otherwise it goes a little bit all over the place, and give that a good stir, good mix. So a couple of things to remember with chicken, okay? We don't wash chicken in the sink, so don't do that. So if you're going to be handling chicken, either use a glove or something like that, or what I do is I have 2 of these. So the one is going to handle the raw chicken and the other one is going to handle the cooked chicken. So the only other thing you need then is you need some kind of a pot or whatever with oil. Now remember, when you're using olive oil, I would not recommend using olive oil for this. However, it's up to you. Sunflower oil generally can go up to much higher temperatures, which for frying stuff is really, really good. So I've got a pot here with oil. So it needs to be heated up to 180 degrees. However, I do have a deep fat fryer. And a deep fat fryer is great because a deep fat fryer regulates the temperature consistently. When you're cooking on a stove like this, I did start pouring the oil, and then I thought, well, actually, to make my life simpler, I'm going to do it in the deep fat fryer. But if you're going to be putting this up to temperature, so when on the top of the oil, when it starts to get that kind of a shimmer thing, and you see a little bit of smoke coming off, eventually you really don't want it to smoke, okay, because that means it's too hot. When it starts to get that kind of a shimmer thing and it's really hot in your hand at this height, now you've got to remember, you've got to keep space, you don't want to burn yourself. But if it feels anywhere hot around here, you can make a good estimation that it's almost ready. Now what you can do to test it, you can take a little bit of bread or something like that, bread preferably, because bread hasn't got a lot of moisture in it, and just dip it in there and see if it starts to bubble really quickly. That means it should be ready for you to use. As I said, I'm going to be using the deep fat fryer. The reason for that is A, it's safer. I can't burn myself using the deep fat fryer, and it's also quicker because this is a two-step frying process. So first things first, we need to take the chicken. So like I said, I've got thighs, and all I'm doing is I'm going to coat it into the flour first. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get another bowl. I'll just use the lid of this one. I'm just going to place it in there to start, because I don't want to mix it at this stage. I just want to kind of coat all of them just in the flour mixture. So this flour mixture, simply again, just to recap, it's 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour or plain flour as we call it in the UK. If you're gluten intolerant or don't want to have wheat, then just change it to a gluten-free or an alternative flour of your choice. So this is perfectly fine. You can make this fairly easily gluten-free. So to which you add 2 teaspoons of black pepper. I'm just using coarsely ground black pepper as opposed to, but if you don't have black pepper, you can just use white pepper, but black pepper is better because it's more authentic, of course. Half a teaspoon of chicken seasoning, chicken or poultry seasoning, 4 teaspoons of garlic salt, okay, and then 2 teaspoons of paprika. So now I've got, how many pieces have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm only going to do 6 pieces, and the rest of this chicken I'm going to freeze, because I don't have that many people in the house, and therefore it would be a waste for me to make all of this food, and invariably someone is going to have to eat. So now I have dipped it into the flour. So really, really simply, dip it into the flour, then it goes, and the oil is ready, then it goes into the milk mixture, milk and egg, okay, and then back into the flour and coat it. What you can do is, if you really wanted to, and you wanted to make it really nice and crispy as well, of course you can just use breadcrumbs. I think breadcrumbs for the 3rd stage of this process would actually be quite cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to open this. For some reason my lid is acting up today. Always take the basket out. This oil is completely clean, which is why I was actually going to do it in a pot, and then I thought, well, maybe not the best idea. So take it out. And please get to the point where you can do 2 at a time, because otherwise it's a little bit of a waste. Okay, so again, we coated it in the flour. It goes into the milk and egg mixture. Cover it completely, because of course the milk lets this flour mixture stick. A lot of people do this by hand, so if you are going to do this by hand, I suggest, use 1 glove, as we obviously most of us have safety gloves now. We have safety gloves lying around the house. but I'm just going to use the spatula. So this now needs to, and you can see it's really, really hot, and that's the reason I didn't really want to do this on the stove. So if you are going to do it on the stove, the first thing I would say is check your temperature. Seriously, oil is very temperamental, because the thing is with oil, the temperature for oil keeps going up, especially if you're cooking it like this. So the thing is, as soon as it gets to temperature, it's sort of what I would call that kind of a horizon stage, you know, where you see that sort of glimmer on the horizon. That stage is where you need to test this oil. And turn the heat down immediately when you do that. I put a little piece of bread or something in there. Obviously nothing with anything coated on it, just a little piece of bread. And if it makes bubbles right round, it's fine. Then you're going to have to turn this down. Now the reason I'm saying this is a two-stage process. The first stage is to crisp the chicken. The second stage is to cook the chicken. I did think to myself, it could potentially be quite simpler if you parboiled the chicken and you coated it. I don't really think, as long as it's cool and it's not hot, I actually think if you parboiled the chicken, you wouldn't have to continue cooking this for such a long time. So that would probably be my kind of top tip for making this process a lot faster. So parboiling, I just mean cook your chicken for about 5 minutes. You don't need to cook it for longer than that. Then cool it down and then do the egg flour, and fry it. Because I'm sure that if you did it that way, you probably cut your time down by half. So I'm going to give us a little rest, and I want to show you, and I'm going to just get a plate, I think, just to make sure I don't drip oil all through the house, which wouldn't be such a great idea. So this has only been in here a couple of minutes, okay? And can you see how much this looks like KFC? So as I said, it's even got those little speckles and everything in it. However, you don't want this to be too brown. So the stage at which it gets to that kind of a crispy stage, I'd say if it's a deep fat fryer, 3 to 5 minutes tops. And then what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to bring the temperature right down, and then you fry it at a lower temperature of about 150, so 180 to 150. So how you do that on the stove is you do the first bit first. So I would say in this kind of pot I could do probably 3 pieces at a time, maybe 4. You don't want to overload it, because otherwise it immediately drops the temperature of the oil, and then the chicken absorbs a lot of fat, which you don't want. KFC is not diet food, okay? I'm sorry. It is never going to be diet food. It's full fat. Sorry to tell you. But what I'm going to do, my method of fixing this, I think, I'm going to take this out now, and I'm going to do the next lot. So now remember, I'm changing my tongs, because this is now a cooked sort of stuff. Now, the thing to note when you're doing something like this in a deep fat fryer, some of that sort of lovely, wonderful, chickeny flour and stuff, which is why you're going to have to most likely change the oil, it gets stuck in the bottom, which is a bit of a pain, to say the least. Now, it's not the end of the world, but it's just something to be aware of. So if you're going to do something like this in a deep fat fryer, you are more than likely going to have to change your oil after this. So that oil was clean. I tend to use my deep fat fryer only really for my cook scissors and stuff, but obviously I'll have to change that oil after making this chicken in it, but it's okay. It's fine for a demonstration. So I'm going to do the next 2 now. So I'm just giving this chicken a little rest, because there's no point in me putting the deep fat fryer up to 180, dropping it down to 160, taking it back to 180, dropping it down to 160. That's not ergonomic sense for me at all, if I'm honest. That makes no sense to me. So I'm simply going to use my brain and obviously make sure that, you know, I keep this sort of stuff separate. So again, flour, egg mixture, egg wash, and turn it right round so that it's obviously wet on all sides. It's probably easier for you if you start this and you don't mind drumsticks, then drumsticks would probably be the simplest. It's going to be a lot quicker. These are big pieces of chicken, and so therefore obviously, you know, it's a little bit more fatty. So if you wanted to stop that chicken from sticking to the bottom of that basket, you can potentially dip it in with a spoon. However, that increases the risk of getting in close contact with the oil, which is maybe something to consider and maybe something you don't want to do. Of course, the other thing to remember is once you've dipped any of this kind of stuff, this is raw chicken, so don't be tempted to try and use this flour or these eggs or anything again. You're going to have to get rid of it, okay? So just remember that. Obviously, any kind of food safety issues. So really simply, of course, yes, of course, you can do this by hand, of course. But your hands are going to have to be washed a lot then, which is entirely fine. If you happen to have a partner or somebody with you to do this with, that's absolutely fine as well. Then the one can dip it in there, the other one can dip it in there, the other one can fry it or whatever, you know, it's up to you. So that's, the chicken mixture has all been coated now. So I'm just going to check this chicken. Yeah, it is, so like I say, so just be mindful that it does stick to the bottom, which is a bit of a pain, which is not the ideal scenario, if I'm honest. But, you know, so like I say, just bear that in mind when you are cooking this. You are going to have to just remember that. So, it would, in that instance, probably therefore make more sense if you could to do it in something like that. But just remember temperature control. So 180 degrees for the first 3 to 5 minutes to get it really crispy and red on the outside. Drop the temperature down to 160, which basically means if you're cooking it on a, say you put this on your, if you've got an oven that goes up to mark 6, 4 to 5 is where you heat the oil at, never at 6, it's far too hot. And then drop it right down to 3, yeah, no more than 3. And if it starts to smoke, drop it down even further. You can wait a little bit because oil does cool down. You can wait a little bit before you do the next stage. So the first stage you're supposed to do it for a few minutes to get that really sort of golden coating on the outside. And then the next stage is supposed to be the bit where you cook the chicken. So, just showing you what it looks like before it goes to the second stage, which is of course the stage where the chicken gets properly cooked. However, I would recommend that you cheat, because that's the whole point about trying stuff like this, so that you can improve it and make your life simpler. I would parboil the chicken, absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt. 5 minutes, let it cool down, dry it, with a bit of kitchen towel, or a kitchen towel or some kitchen paper. Then put it in the flour mixture, put it in the egg wash, back into the flour mixture, and then put it in this. So at that stage, you could probably, if you did 3 at a time, you could probably take the temperature up, drop it right down, take it, just let it rest a little bit, and then do the next stage, and then it's kind of 15 to 20 minutes, they say. But if you're doing it in a deep fat fryer, which keeps the temperature constant, I don't think it needs that long. I would probably say maybe no more than 10 minutes at the most. However, you do have to test it. Chicken is, of course, it's very easy to test. You just take a skewer or a knife or anything like that. If the juices run clear, in other words, you don't see any pink stuff, if it's clear like water, it's cooked. Okay? that's the simplest thing to check for chicken. So chicken is really good at telling you it's cooked because the juice that comes out looks like water. If it looks like any other color than clear, it's not cooked, so continue cooking it for a bit longer. So classic dishes for me that I would have grown up with KFC would be coleslaw. I absolutely love coleslaw. It's quite strange that I like to eat that at KFC. I don't eat my KFC with chips, believe it or not. I like it with coleslaw. It's quite strange. The coleslaw, corn on the cob, and I think beans would be another choice, but I don't really like baked beans with my KFC. But as a child, I used to love the coleslaw because, of course, it's quite a nice sharp contrast. And of course, if you want to spice this up and make it a little bit more fiery, by all means, just add a little bit more extra paprika. Double, remember it's already got 2 teaspoons of paprika in there. So increase the paprika a little bit more, or add some chili flakes. It's up to you. It has got plenty pepper, okay? You don't need to worry about the pepper so much. And so I'm just going to do the last 2 bits for the first half, and then I'm going to continue cooking this for a bit longer. This is what might take a little bit of practice if you haven't done this before, which is why I would recommend do drumsticks, because drumsticks are simpler to work with. It also cooks a lot faster. But if you've parboiled it, this really shouldn't be that difficult. So that's 6 pieces of really lovely chicken breast. Now, I'm just going to try and turn this quickly. I'm hoping that if I do it this way, it doesn't actually stick to the bottom. Because unlike when I make things like my cook sisters and stuff like that, of course my cook sisters rises out of the bottom, so it doesn't get stuck. Whereas this obviously gets a little bit stuck. So but be careful when you're handling this. And I'm just going to show you again. This isn't cooked yet, but if this, you could be very, 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 very easily fooled that you are having the real thing because it looks like the real thing. So have a go. Let me know what you think. Like I say, it's been ages, really long time. It's been a really, really long time since I've had KFC. So I'm going to enjoy that. I didn't get a chance to make some coleslaw, but that doesn't matter. I'll just have a little piece. And imagine I'm having coleslaw with it. I would love to have some coleslaw with it. That would be my perfect accompaniment. I also like corn on the cob with KFC. I don't know, it's quite nostalgic. And I remember the sort of sauce and stuff. I never had that. I don't really like that sort of brown sauce. But these are the things that is synonymous with KFC. So I think next week, if you want, what we could do is we could try a bit of Nando's, and we can make a little bit of Nando's chicken if you fancy. So I'll give you some options, or we can do a dessert. I do happen to have the authentic sauces. However, there are plenty of really cool recipes for Portuguese chicken, of course, which is what Nando's recipes are based on. So we could have a go at trying something like that, and then maybe I get a chance to actually get the coleslaw, and I can show you how to make your own coleslaw if you don't know already. But that is Em's kitchen this Friday night. As always, it's a pleasure. If there's anything you want me to demonstrate, or you fancy having a go at, or you don't know how to make, or you want to learn, by all means, always drop me a line. If you message me at 2 in the morning, I'm not going to reply straight away. I will reply, okay? Don't worry about that ever. Any which way you want to contact me, that's absolutely fine. Have a lovely, lovely weekend, whatever you're doing. Looks like we're getting close to coming out of lockdown, which would be brilliant, if I'm honest. I like my house, but it's quite nice to get out as well. So have a great weekend, whatever you are. Chin up, keep yourself sane. And thank you for watching as always. Have a great weekend.